Well, am I up? Says I've got two in here right now. Now we're up to 5. Hello, Gordon. How are you? Good evening from Mississippi. So how is everyone? And what's happening? I'm doing all right, Gordon. Thank you for asking. I'll have to go apologize to Russ here directly. I didn't realize he was going to go live tonight. I done had things set up to go live. I think he's still live. It's been slow, Gordon. We got started there yesterday, just trying to open the fields and stuff up. We chopped, I said on the YouTube video that we chopped 5 loads, but it was actually 6. And we chopped 13 today. We got started, or I got started, and then Tiffany, she come down to help. And then Mom and Dad, they come down and helped a little bit. And right about the time we was going good, I blew a return line on the chopper. So I had to quit, and everything was just so hot that it took me a little bit to get that back fixed. And by that time, it was about 6:30, 7 o'clock, so we just called it a day. By the time I let that motor and stuff cool down to where I could get in there to do anything. But we're going anyway. I think I'm going to try to chop some more tomorrow. And then they're talking about rain moving in here first week, Monday, Tuesday. I think they're giving a higher chance for Tuesday than Monday or Wednesday. Says we got 6 in here now. Blue fuel tank, yeah, it's too much for it. Yeah, that John Deere just can't handle that blue power. Yeah, that's what it is. No, I've had to change several of them return lines or little rubber line about that long. It's about 3/8 on the injector, and then it tapers down to about an 1/8 inch for a steel line. Just something you can't just go to Parts House and get. You got to get them from John Deere or order them offline. But we've got a few of them, and they're kind of aggravating to change, but it was a spraying fuel everywhere. Hello from Western Kentucky. Oh, James. But yeah, that Gordon, that fuel tank, it worked out pretty good. I looked at the original tank on how to get it out, and it just looked like it was going to be a headache. And me and Dad come up with that idea of putting that tank on to keep us going last year. And a few hours I had that all fixed up, and we was back going until that hydraulic pump messed up on us. But well, thank you, Gordon. It being back there on the back like that chopper, it's got fluid in the rear tires anyway. And that fuel tank in the back, it kind of helps keep the ass in on the ground. It wants to, especially pulling the wagon going over a hill, it wants to pick up some. So it puts me a little more weight back there too. And like I said, it don't hold near as much as the original tank. It holds, I think, supposed to hold about 70 or so, and that holds about 35, 40. You just got to fill it up a little more often, but it works, and it's just something that we had to keep us going, because the only way I seen to get that original tank out was take all the hydraulic lines and everything off the front and try to bring it out that way. And then I didn't know what all it was going to entail on trying to patch it and how long it would last. So we just stuck that tank on it and went on with it. There's a lot of stuff like that goes on around here. Do what we have to do to get by and make things work. A lot of rigging. Yeah, it works. That's the main thing. Sure is. It's just like that hydraulic pump mess. It's been aggravating for sure. But so far, the way I've got it fixed using that combine pump, it's working. So it's it don't have that little pump on it like I was talking about to circulate it around. But I'm going to try to take the line loose off the bottom of that transmission. It's all that is for just for the transmission, for the main chopping part itself, not for the mobility of it, just for the chopper. But I'm going to try to take the line off and do some plumbing and put me a temperature gauge right there just to see what it's doing. That's all right, Nelson. Come back. We'll be here. Tell him happy birthday. But I think if I put a temperature gauge on there, that way I can see what it's doing. I think it'll be all right. Yeah, we've got several pull types, Gordon. For years when they was milking, they had a Super 17, New Holland 717. That's what he used, one row. Dad did, and then in the mid 90s, he wound up buying an 890 and two row. Used that for several years. And in 2010, the clutches in the the clutches in the gearbox burn out, and he was trying to find a junk one somewhere to get either a gearbox or clutches or something. And he wound up buying two more, and he bought a 770 New Holland. Then he bought a 880 New Holland, and here in the past, I don't know, year and a half, he's kind of went chopper crazy. He bought a 782. That was our main chopper there for a few years. And then we bought this 5400. And then he bought a 718 New Holland. And then he bought a 890. That's what we was using when we was chopping wheat. So yeah, there's 8 or 9 pull types around here. So we've Dad always said he's going to try to corner the chopper market, and he's getting there. But that 890 that we was using to chop wheat with, it seems like it's a pretty good chopper. This self-propelled we got, where it's got that wind tunnel in it. We didn't know that when we was buying it, that the wind tunnel ain't chop grass, weed, anything like that, that it'd just choke it up too bad. That you got to have the auger system that it originally come with. There's one guy, I can't think of his name. He's a dairy that I watch on YouTube, and he's got one, and he switches his from the wind tunnel to the auger when he's going to do grass. But I like the wind tunnel, but I don't like it. You've got to have everything going just right. Yeah, we've got a spare or 10. Yeah, it's like last year. We liked about 10 acres of Dad's corn last year was being done when this hydraulic pump went out. And so we hooked up the 782 to the 9600 and finished his up. But I know when you go from a 1 row or 2 row that you used to this 4 row, it's just daylight and dark difference in what you can accomplish. And something else that I'm not used to either, the wagon that I used in my latest video, that's our biggest dump wagon that we've got now. We got one that's just a little bit smaller than that one, not by much. He bought them at a sale back in the spring, and they'll hold about twice to what our old wagons would hold. So so far we've chopped about 20 of these big wagons in the 4 dump trucks. So I think we've got about 40 or 50 loads of the old original wagons. Yeah, Steve, I actually filled part of that silo in to make room for the bunk that I've got now. It just wasn't big enough, and we'd used it to burn stuff in for years, and it was full of stuff. Yeah, the only time that I really used the Kenworth in the dump trailer is if I'm going to sell it out of the field. I do have a couple loads that I've got to take right now. So we'll just chop over in it and then haul it to where it's going. But that's about the only time that we use the semi. Just hate to bounce it around in the field and stuff and getting in a side-goggly place and turning it over. Because I come in one hair of turning that trailer over back last year with a load of silage. I was dumping it, and I thought I was level enough, but I wasn't. Tiffany, she was standing off the side of the trailer when I was dumping, and she said that the back tires of the trailer come off the ground about a foot on the right-hand side. So I was bad close to turning it over, but I seen what was happening, and I gassed it real hard and kind of jerked it. And when I done that, the silage come from the front to the back, and it set back down. And I let the trailer down and got turned around a different way and got it dumped. But now, Dad, he did turn a dump trailer over about 20 years ago, maybe 25 now. But he did turn the dump trailer over with lime. He turned it over up there on our place, there across from the head chute. No, Steve, I was hauling water back of this. I turned the old finishing floor into a feedlot, and to feed the calves and stuff on. And on the pond side of the feedlot, I buried a 1,500-gallon septic tank that I made like a cistern. I guttered the finishing, and that's what I was using to water the calves and stuff. And back earlier, we was having some dry spells down here, and it just wasn't keeping up. So I had to haul water there for about a week. But no, the original spring, it's still going extremely well. Hello, Colton. How are you? But yeah, Steve, I built that trench down in there, where the face of it was down at the level before you started up the hill, and dug it back into the bank, and it works out real good right there. Do the AC units keep you cool in the 7610 7700? The 7700 has the old style piston pump. It don't keep you real cold. I need to take the top off and clean the radiator stuff out up there. Would probably help it. Right now, the way it is, I'm going to say to keep you from sweating, but that's about it. The 7610, I put a new air conditioning pump on it last year, and it keeps you pretty cool. It does real good. Thank you, Patrick. I'm glad you enjoy them. Everybody got quiet. Steve, did you all dig that trench out that you was talking about there to put their raw silage in? On the landslide, Steve, don't know what to do with that. I've got it fenced off. I can't really tell that it's moved much from the video back in the spring. Liam did tear the fence and stuff down, and did find a cow that had got down in there and died. And so I've got to keep that up extremely well. I don't know what to do. I thought about putting up actual barbed wire around through there instead of that electric wire, and where I found this cow at, she wasn't in that bad a spot. It just so wet. It just like a quicksand. Aaron, Dad's going to have about 90 acres of silage that we're going to chop for him. As of right now, I was planning on chopping about 30 acres for herself. But what I'm chopping right now is actually what I was planning on shelling. It don't have as good an ear on it as what the silage corn does. So I think I'm going to shell the silage corn and chop the shelling corn. Well, that's what we're doing. We're chopping the shelling corn, but I'm going to chop at least 30 acres down there, but I may wind up chopping more. I just have to see how it goes. There's a road that washed out. See you, Gordon. Thanks for coming in. But on the landslide, I don't know what to do. I'll try to now that I've got this drone, I'll try to get some aerial footage of it and show how to do. Everything that we've got, me and my wife has got, is dual purpose corn. But the actual silage variety that I planted, it was an actual silage variety, but the rest of it was a dual purpose. And yeah, we use the silage to feed our beef cattle, and then we sell quite a bit of silage too. We sold quite a bit last year, and that's the reason why I was planning on chopping more this year down there. We chopped about 20 acres last year, and I was going to up it to 30, but I think I might wind up chopping more than that. Price it by the ton, Steve. And then it's priced by the ton. If you come up there and pick it up, and then it's priced by the ton plus trucking if I have to deliver it. It has been extremely crazy this year for growing corn, for sure. No, that's for sure. I wish it was $8 a bushel. It's dropped. Corn has dropped a whole lot since we planted it. I called there the other night, Jeffersonville, and it was $5, I think it was. This year, Steve, I think I'm going to be somewhere about 65 a ton on silage, and that's picked up there at the farm. And then I charge $4 a mile, loaded mile delivery. But we sold quite a bit last year, and it was a thought that I had. It done really, really well, and I could have sold a whole lot more last year if I had it. I just didn't have it. I had to save some for herself. This year, me and my wife has got about 130, 40 acres of corn. That's on what we own and what we lease. And there's about, I don't know, down there at Broadhead. There's probably 25, 30 acres or something that's in pasture. And then I've got about there's about 15 or so acres that's in hay. No, Steve, we've not sold any freezer beef in a while. Mom and them, they did have the meat business years ago, and they quit probably 10 or 12 years ago. Me and Tiffany, we started it back up, and everything was going good until COVID hit. And we had a butcher date set, and well, Tiffany was supposed to have surgery, and they postponed it because of COVID. And then we got a butcher date back last spring. We got a butcher date, and then the hospital called and said that they was going to set her surgery up for the butcher date. So I had to cancel that. Well, after surgery, I called to try to get another butcher date, and it was already a year out, and we just ain't never got back into it. Well, I'm glad you got a little something out of the 170 clutch job. Them tractors are pretty simple to put in. You live in Australia. How long you been in Australia? That's a couple miles from the house there, ain't it? What part of America are you from? Since 2000, from Seattle. Washington State. Can't say I've ever been there. Really ain't been out of Kentucky much. Yeah, Steve, we could have really made money if we'd had the meat last year for sure, especially where everything was going up in the stores. But we had some left over, but we decided that we was going to keep that for ourselves. Where things were just kind of haywire there. Mom and them, they did have a hog butchered over in Crab Orchard there from the Amish a couple weeks ago. We was having to take ours down to Williamsburg because we had to have it USDA inspected. Hello, Christopher. How are you? Steve, when was the Fern House and all that stuff built? I think I've got the paperwork and stuff on today. Give me that was around 77. I think what the dates and stuff was on it. We live in Mount Vernon. But her farm is in Broadhead. Well, the home farm is here in Mount Vernon. That's where we was born and raised. But the farms that me and my wife own are in Broadhead. That's what I was thinking it was 77. I hope you're not mad at me, Steve, for tearing all your work up, but I think it's turned out pretty good. Me and yeah, Dad's dad was Wayne. Yeah. But yeah, me and a neighbor was talking there yesterday, Steve, and we was talking about the hog situation, and he's got the hog buildings and stuff too, just like what's down there, and they just ain't no money in hogs no more. And it's a shame that them facilities that we had and he's got that you just can't do nothing with them. Now, I won't say their last name, but you'll probably know who I'm talking about is David. Clay was his dad's name. Lived over on the ridge. Yeah, I've done a lot of work on it. It's coming along pretty good. I'm gonna try to get my doors and stuff put on it here before winter. Yeah, I figured you would. Like I said, I wasn't gonna say their last name, but yeah. Yeah, he come up yesterday looking at my combine. He's wanting to try to put a John Deere head on his gleaner. I was getting some measurements and stuff off of it. But we was talking about it, and he's talking about he's probably going to try to sell his harvest store. And he said that his hog barns was made a little bit different, and that he really couldn't do nothing like I did with his. He talked like it just had one deep pit. He said it was like 10 foot deep and 10 foot wide. And where the Fern house had that tunnel in it that I could tear out, had a lot more room. Yeah, I don't know what all he's planning on trying to do. He said he found him a John Deere head in a feeder house for 4,400 that he's going to try to cut the front plate off and try to mount it on there somehow. And he was trying to get some measurements and stuff, but he said his throat was wider than the 4,400. I told him it may be more like the 6,600, and he said he was going to go over and measure it. I don't know if he did or not, but it's got a little quiet. Yeah, that's what Dad said, that he didn't do no fair, and that they bought them as feeders and finished them out. I told David yesterday, I don't think I'm not going to say that I ain't. I probably was when I was little. But as far as being out at his house and seeing what the buildings look like, I ain't never been out there that I can remember but I'm sure Dad's had me out there before, back when I was little. I like fooling with hogs if there was some money in them. Yeah, that's what Dad told me, how he had it set up. Hello there, Farm 26. How are you? We have pretty much just been Ford people up until the past 10 years, I guess. We always had Fords, had one Cub Farmall that Dad used to plow tobacco with. We've still got that. The D17 was my great grandpa's on my mom's side, and Dad and them bought that at the estate sale somewhere around 85, I think it was. And that was the first Alice on the place. Had an 806 International around here for a little while, but Dad traded that off to another Ford. The next Alice I guess we had is I had a 190 Alice. We've still got that, 190 XT. That was Johnny's there, Steve, was the 190. And then when we used to tend that farm, an old man got sick, and whenever he died, Mom and them wound up buying what farm was left, because before he died, he was cutting it up and selling stuff off. And after he died, Mom and them bought what equipment and land that was left at a really good price. And when that happened, we wound up with the 170 and a 200 and the 450 dozer and the cab over truck and a couple of small internationals, Farmalls. One of them's a 100 and one's a 130. Dad bought back in the spring at a sale. He bought a D14, thinking that it was a D17 for the wide front. It's got a wide front under it. He wants to put a wide front under our D17. No, Aaron. We was actually a dairy. My papa started the dairy back when Dad was a kid, and then when Dad got older, he took over, and they really grew the dairy there for several years, and then he sold out in 98. The farm that me and my wife own now, Dad bought that in 90 off of Steve here. And Steve fixed all the hog buildings and stuff. And Dad raised hogs there for a little while. I think he bought the farm in 90, and I think he quit in 94, 95. The cost of feed got high and hogs got cheap, so Dad got out of that. But after we quit milking in 98, we started into beef cattle and a lot of row crop. Farm 26, what's wrong with you? We've actually got two 9600s. The one that you see in my videos is actually the last one that we got. The old original one, it ain't been in none of my videos because it's been in the garage tore apart. I just actually got it put back together enough that I could get it out of the garage a few days ago. and I'm really not for sure what year the one that you see in my videos is. They made them. They only made them a couple years. 70. 75, 78, maybe 74, 77, somewhere in that area. But to answer your question on how long we've had it, the 9600 that you see in our videos, we got that one about 15 years ago. We actually bought that one for parts. It was at the local Ford dealership, and me and Tiffany seen it, and they didn't want a whole lot for it. Said they had something wrong with it, and me and Dad went over and looked at it, and we wound up buying it. And the only thing that was wrong with it was the head gasket was blowed. That tractor actually had a cab on it when we got it, the old Ford original cabs, which I hate. Farm 26 and 01 I'm talking about. It's got none of the windows open on it. The doors do have some slide windows, and most of that cab style had the roll bar on the back. The roll bar that's on it now was already on there when the cab was on there. And when you look around in the back, there's about 2 foot of spot between the roll bar and the cab that you couldn't see. You kind of had to look around. And we had to take the cab off to work on the transmission. And we never did put it back on. We run around here for, gosh, probably 7 or 8 years, I guess, with nothing, just no fenders, no nothing, just the tires. And there was a junk 8000 come in at a junkyard in the next town over. And I went down there and got a bunch of parts and stuff off of it and got them fenders, and had the neighbor up the road clean them up, and he refiberglassed them and painted them. Excuse me. And I put them on and turned it into what it is now. We've got an 86 also. Little story on that one. Dad bought it as parts. He bought it at a sale. These tractors are getting hard to find, so I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. If anybody knows where an 8000, 86, 96, or 9000 junk is, let me know. Send me an email, drop me a comment or something. We needing some parts, and you can't get them through Ford or ain't find nothing online, and ain't nobody around here got none. But the 86, Dad bought at a sale, and he bought it dirt cheap. I think he gave like $1,200 for it. And everything is there except for the right side hood. And it was locked up, and we brought it in, had a real set of tires on the front and on the back. And we brought it in here, and Dad figured out who the owner of it was and called him and got the background history on it, and decided that we was going to try to get it unstuck. Well, we got it unstuck here a month or so ago and got it running a couple of weeks ago, and just got it out of the garage the other day. The 9600 was in front of it, and I was itching to get the 86 out, so I put the 9600 together enough that I could move it out to get the 86 out to play with it. So, but yeah, we've actually got 2 9600s now, the 8600 and an 8000. They are good machine. Yeah, Steve, them bigger Alice's that we got now, the 190 and the 200, and the 170, they all come from Johnny. things that he had there. We started out last year just advertising it on Facebook and Craigslist, the silage. We didn't have it tested. We had a lot of requests to get it tested. And after we got it tested and got the results back and put that out there, it sold like hotcakes. So as soon as this stuff ferments, I'm going to get a test sample of it and have that ready. So yes, we will have it tested. Yeah, Jonathan, I'm going to try to do an equipment video one of these days. I just ain't done that yet. Like I said, the 86, it was about ready to be pulled out. The 9600, it was getting ready to be put back together, so I was waiting on that. The 190 is actually up at the neighbor's. He wasn't real busy, and it spun a rod bearing, so we took it up there, and he's working on that, so it ain't even on the farm right now. But one of these days, I am going to do an equipment tour. I've had a couple requests for that. And to answer your question on that, the other 9600, they bought it about 84, 85, I think, is when that tractor first come here. We went from a 5,000 being the biggest tractor on the place to the 9600, so it was a big step up. Well, I tell you, in my opinion, them old tractors, they're hard to beat. They're sound and don't have a whole lot of problem with them. The 9600 that we just put back together, the clutch had just got wore out, and the dual power clutches had burned up in it. It would only pull on the low side. If you put it over in the high side, it would just choke it down and kill the motor. Hello, David. Yeah, that's really the only Series 4 that we don't have, Steve, is a 6 Series. In a 4 Series. We've got a 2000, a 3000, a 5000, a 5600, two 7610s, a 7700, an 8000, 86, and two 96s, and a Ford backhoe. Well, thank you, Aaron. I'm glad you enjoy them. I started this channel back in January, and I've really enjoyed it. The shop, I really ain't done much to it lately. I ain't had much time to do much to it. Had other things going on. I got one side of the handrail here put on back a couple weeks ago. It was raining during Hurricane Ida. Didn't have nothing else to do, so I worked on that. Still got to do the other side. Did a little more dirt work once I got the bulldozer down there the other day, kind of leveling up there below the shop. And really ain't much changed in that situation. I'm wanting to try to get my doors and stuff built here pretty soon, especially before cold weather sets in. When the dual power messed up in this tractor, it was doing it on the high side. It would pull on the low side just like normal, when you flicked it up in the high side, it just like everything was locked up and it just choked the motor down and just strained its guts out. But we got it all back together here the other day, and I drove it around some. I still got to get the sheet metal and stuff put back on it. I'm going to try to pressure wash it off real good before I do all that, where I can get to everything. But so far, it seems like it's all right. What little bit I've been on it. Yeah, I plan on trying to make a second crop hay. Probably going to try to do that here in a couple of weeks. In between silage cutting. Well, we've got the 5,000 and the 5,600, and Dad always said that out of all the tractors we got, if we had to sell them all, the 5,000 would be the last in the go. And I would have to agree with him. And that 66 is pretty close to the 5,000, and they're just an all-around good tractor. They're small enough to do the small work, but yet got enough horsepower to do the big stuff, and or a lot of big stuff. I've looked at some 6600s and 6610s, and thought about one a time or two. But if I had to choose between any of the brands, I would have to choose Ford, just because, one, that's mainly what I've been around and know how to work on, and they don't give you a lot of trouble. And we've got several New Holland dealerships around here now within 30 miles of us that can get most things. And then again, we ain't had a whole lot of trouble out of these Fords. Hello, Paul. How are you? Yeah, our second crop hay ain't gonna be what I'd like for it to be, but I'm gonna try to do a second round on a couple of our fields. Probably ain't gonna cut much. Probably, let's see, 30, 40 acres or something. All we're gonna cut. I'm sorry, Russ. I didn't know you was going to do a live tonight, or I'd have postponed mine. I done had it all set and ready to roll. But I was there watching yours until it was my turn. The 6600, I'm pretty sure does not. I'm pretty sure that the 6600 does not have a turbo. This 8600 that we've got don't have a turbo, and neither does 8000. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much the only difference between an 8 and a 9 is the turbo. Hello, Nelson. About time you get back here. Did your grandson have fun at his party? Thank you for stopping in there, Thomas. Thank you for watching the videos. Cross your fingers, Paul. It's still going. Yeah. When it went down last year, everything was going good, and that pump went out, and it was blowing out the end of the shaft. The fan just caught it and just made a mess everywhere. We took it to a hydraulic place, and they rebuilt it. All they could do was just put new seals in it. He put new seals and stuff in it. I brought it back, put it back on, chopped about 7 loads with it, and it started leaking as bad as it ever did. So we took it back off, took it back over there, and he said that the housing and stuff was wore so bad that it was just sending pressure where it didn't need to, and he couldn't build it. The only thing you could get from John Deere was just the rebuild kit, just the seals in it. Couldn't get no housing, couldn't get no gears, couldn't get no nothing. They could get the pump. The pump was $2,400-$2,500. So we just hooked to a pull type, finished chopping last year, and it just sat there at the edge of the field. So my thought was, is I'll just get me a universal pump, put on it, everything will be fine. I was wrong. It has been a nightmare. I had thought about using the combine pump before, but we was trying to figure out a way of the little piggyback pump to do the circulating, and me and Dad just come to the conclusion that we're just going to try to run it without that and see how it goes. The only difference between the chopper pump and the combine pump is the combine pump is just a little bit longer shaft, so I had to make that spacer plate, had to have that key cut in it, but so far it's working, so we'll see. Yeah, that's what I was thinking on the 8s and the 9s, and yeah, like you said, the 5s up to the 7s. Yeah, pretty much the same motor, just a little difference in turbo and pump power. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Steve, we've got Dad's got a 7610 4-wheel drive that is an Englisher, and it's got some different linkages and stuff on the back. One thing that it's got that I like is you can raise the lift arms up, pull a lever, let your lift arms down, and the drawbar will go all the way to the ground. And then you can hook up whatever you're hooking up, raise your lift arms back up, and it comes back up and locks in. I like that part about it. And that it's 4-wheel drive. But the rest of the tractor, I ain't got nothing for. It's a piece of junk. That's the only tractor that I can say that's Ford that's a piece of junk. Yeah, Paul, that makes the third pump I put on there. The first pump, it wasn't going to work. The second pump was just putting out so much pressure that it just blew things up. And me and Dad was seriously thinking about trying to order a pump through John Deere. And I said, let me go get a pump off the combine and just let me see. And so I took a chance, took it off, done all the work to it, and hooked it up. And so far, it's working. So definitely cheaper than $2,500. I used Don Cash, Steve. They're in town. I took it down there to him, and he cut that in there for me. I use him a lot for little things like that. And then there's another welding shop up here in town, and I get him to do a lot of my welding, fabricating stuff that's out of my abilities. I had him fix this roller on this dozer because he's got a lay machine and can make me a new axle and bore that out and all that stuff. Well, they're flooding in here now. I can't keep up. I tell you something there on them engines. Also, I read in a magazine that the 9600s on number 6 cylinder, the bore is a few thousandths bigger on number 6 than the other 5, and they said that they did that for heat reasons. That was one major thing to tell the difference between the 9 and the 96 was that bigger bore. And it wasn't a lot, it was just a little. There's a lot of things around here in Nelson that gets repurposed, I promise. See you, Russ. Talk to you later. We sell ours by the ton, Paul. Yeah, I'm definitely a repurposer. One man's junk is another man's treasure, and I find a lot of treasures. Yeah, there's so many things around here that Dad has come up with over the years, and then there's things that I've built and come up with over the years, and just scrap laying around and make stuff useful. I built back in high school. I built a head chute out of uh, shelving material. I got the pattern off of our foremost head chutes and built one, and it almost identical to a foremost, and it's actually the main chute we use now. You call it an almost. It's an almost chute. It's a caterpillar yellow colored, and I named it the almost. I'll try to get a video of it sometime and show it. But it's one of the main chutes used now. That was not a sprayer frame. That was actually a 3-point hitch V-rake is what I built that double spear out of. It was basically 2 side delivery wheel rakes that was pinned onto that frame, and I took the rake off and made a caddy. I built a caddy for it and used a Belfco brand as the pattern. I don't have it no more. I upgraded and got the one we got now. But I kept the frame and come up with the spear idea. What are you calling a plowshare? Okay. Got you. Yeah, since I've really got into the YouTube, uh, people out of Rockcastle County, Kentucky, call things a little different than I do. Yeah, hard and stuff like that, you can't hardly weld on. Yeah. So Farm 26, I kind of got into your videos are a little bit late. What what is your grain going to be? You going to store grain in that? Is that how I take that? Like I said, I kind of got into it about midway and kind of missed what you was doing. Your wagon looks good, by the way. I've got some you can come work on if you want to. What are you planning on putting in it? I was kind of afraid that something like that would happen, Paul. I was going around the edge and I was almost to the end, and they wound up being a whole lot more on the front of the wagon than the back. And that wagon there is one of them that Dad had just purchased, and the tailgate ain't high enough. The tailgate's the same height as the bed, and I was afraid that when it come out that it would rear up. So I was kind of figuring something like that. That's all we've ever had. Well, I say that's all we've ever had. That's all I've really ever been around is the dump wagons. Back years ago, Dad had chain wagons and he had a couple of dump wagons. But since then, we've changed a couple of the chain wagons over to dump wagons, old farm hen wagons and things like that. And for us, they just work a whole lot better than front unloads or chains or just dump and go. You just got to watch where you're dumping. Soybeans, wheat, and radish. Yeah, that wagon there, that's actually the biggest one that we've got now. It's about 8 foot wide, about 6 foot, 6.5 foot deep, and it's about 14 foot long. You can definitely put a load on it. So now's when you're gonna come up here and run this forward. We need some help pulling wagons and stuff in this silage. I got started this morning, still trying to get the fields and stuff opened up. I didn't get it hardly as much done yesterday as I wanted to. Had some people come up and kind of got sidetracked. Started today, and Tiffany come down and helped for a while, and Mom and them come down and helped for a little bit, and then blew the return line on the chopper and had to quit. fuel return line. The motor was so hot I couldn't get up in there and touch it to change it, but I've got it fixed now. So I'm gonna try to get back started tomorrow. Well, Nelson, I can pay you an RC in the moon pie if you want to come run it. I'll put you on Big Blue. Because we got a lot to do still yet. No, never been around H&S. Down here, pretty much silage wagon goes is casting, front unloaders, Paypec. There's quite a bit of Paypec front unloaders around here. John Deere, Gale, and then the rear deliveries. There's a lot of farm hand rear delivery wagons still yet around that people's got, and quite a few dump wagons. A lot of the bigger dairies, they've got some H&S truck boxes and a few front unloaders. But as far as me being around them, I've not been around them. Oh yeah, the Big Deer really burns it. It is 200 and it's right at 200 horse is what that big chopper is. When everything is going good, you can burn the original tank full in a day. The tank that's on there now, about 2 tanks a day to get through the day if everything's going good. But yeah, like I said, we was used to 1 and a 2 row chopper, and with our old silage wagons, like I said, now that we've got these bigger wagons, they hold about twice what our old wagons do. So it's kind of a little bit different figuring. But if we could get 35, 40 loads in a day with a 2 row chopper and all goes well, we figured we had a good day. Last year, with this big chopper, and we had plenty of help and everything was moving smooth, we was chopping 40 and 50 loads in an evening. A lot of the help would come in about 5 o'clock, 5:30 after work, and we'd chop till dark, and we'd get 40 or 50 loads there in just a few hours, and it was just totally different ball game to us than what we're used to. Oh yeah, Nelson, that Ford tank, it gives it a whole lot of horsepower. That's what I said, that Ford tank's where it gets all its power now. Without that tank, it wouldn't run. But back to your question on that. With the 9600 in a 2 row pull top chopper, you would burn about a tank a day, and it holds, like I said, about 35, 40 gallons somewhere in there. So you could figure a tank a day on the 9600 and about 2 tanks on the big chopper. No, Paul, we don't have a pickup head. What you see in the video is what we got with it, is just that 4 row corn head. We did have to get an extension and put in the spout to make it taller. They was blowing in a covered wagon. We want to chop over in the truck, so I had to add I think it's a 2-foot extension. But the chopper has a wind tunnel in it, and we didn't realize that when we bought it, because we wanted to chop wheat and stuff with it too. But the wind tunnel, from what I know and have talked to some people, the wind tunnel, you can't chop any kind of grass. That it's still, the grass is a lot more fine and tacky than the silage is, and it will plug you up. You have to have the auger system. I know I was trying to, when I got the pump and everything back together on the chopper here a week and a half or so ago, I was trying to chop a little bit over here at Dad's just to see how it was going to act. And his corn was in the blister stage, and I couldn't chop it. It was choking me up. It was just so heavy, and it's got to throw it about 5 or 6 feet from the cutter back to the blower, and it goes the width of the cutter, which is, I'm not exactly sure how wide it is, but it's at least 30 inches. It goes back about 5 or 6 feet, rounds a corner into a hole about that big into the blower. And that's where it chokes you up, is when it goes around that corner. If you've got to the end of the row and you idle it down and a little stalk of corn goes through and it don't chop it up real fine and got the force to throw it, it'll choke you up. And it took a little getting used to. And downhill, if you're going downhill very, very steep, where it's got to throw it up and around, it wants to choke you up. I've been under it a few times this year. But we don't have a pickup head for it, because it according to what little I know, and there's one guy I watch, I can't think of the first name, but they're dairy, and he's got one, and he has to change from wind tunnel to auger when he's going to chop grass. They say with the wind tunnel, it don't take as much horsepower, that you can go from like a 3-row head to a 4-row head, because you ain't got that power of them augers turning everything back through there. So you've got more on the actual chop. Yeah, the first time I used that chopper last year, I was going along, going pretty easy, and everything was going good. And I just started pouring her coal to her and seeing what she could eat. And it got her mouth full and choked up. And Dad had a little 4-prong rake just about that wide in the back of the truck. And it is now a chopper tool. It is mandatory. We've got a little thing there on the side that I keep it with me to clean her out. That's about the only way you can clean it out. It works real good. But you got to kind of learn, and that was something last year where we just had got it. I had to learn its sounds and its feels and stuff on when things is about to plug up. I can kind of catch it now if right before it plugs up. If I'm really paying attention, I can catch it before it does. Let it just stop and let it clean itself out. If I could get some new knives and stuff in it and it'd chop it up, I think it would chop and blow it better. I don't think I'd have as much problem. But them knives, they're $12, $13 a piece, and there's 40 of them in there. It needs a new stone. Yeah, I was planning on trying to put knives in it this year. This this hydraulic pump mess has got me behind, and got funds situated. And yeah, that makes a bill. Yeah, it comes to around $500 and some just for the knives. And then it don't have no sharpening stone. I had said it in my video. The guy that we bought it off of, he had done been using a grinder and sharpening them knives, and that's what I'm doing now. The sharpening mechanism was all stuck, and he never did do nothing with it, and I got that freed up. I didn't want to put a new stone in it because all these knives are mismatched, and I didn't want to do that. So until I get new knives in it, I guess I'll still use a grinder. No, this machine here actually come out of Indiana. Where was that at? Seymour, Indiana is where this machine come from. I found it's either on Marketplace or Craigslist, one of the two. There is a website that Dad run across. What's it called? Iowa Cutters, maybe. And they've got a bunch of these parts machines, these machines for parts. And we called out there. Dad called out there on that hydraulic pump, and they wanted $1,500 for the pump, a used one, and we was afraid that pump would be as bad as what we got, so we didn't go that route either. Yeah, we never have used any of that. It's a type of inoculant. We never have used none of that. We never have had a silo, an upright. We have a couple trench silos that's concreted. They're kind of in bad shape now. One of them's here up, but they're both up here above where me and Tiffany lives. One's behind the milk house, and one's at the freestyle barn. The one at the freestyle barn, we use it for all that old freestyle barn area and lot. We use that to feed cattle on now. And the old silo up through there, we've got fence line feeders, troughs up through there that we feed on. And then the one here by the milk house, it was just mainly for the milk house only. And the way we feed now, it just don't work out. We tried it there a couple of years, but you got to go to load. You got to go down into where the milk house holding lot was, and all that's concrete, but you got a pretty good steep incline to come back out. And we got down in there a couple times with our mixer wagon, and it snowed and iced up, and we couldn't get it out for 2 or 3 days. So we've now put all our silage over at Mom and Dad's, and we just pile it on the ground over there. Then I built the trench down at our place last year. There's a lot of people around here anymore use these bags. I never was a big bag fan myself. Last year actually is the first time that I've ever covered a silo. Dad used to cover some when he was milking, and he said by the time the cows got out and walked all over it and coons and stuff turned the plastic up, he was still losing a lot, so he just quit covering it, period. And he ain't covered silage in probably 35 years. But last year, we decided that we was going to cover that at Broadhead, or we was going to try to sell it. And I am a believer in covering it. We lost very little, just a little bit on top, very little. Yeah, whenever Dad called down there to get a price on a pump, he asked about a warranty, and I think he said it was 14 days um, from the time you got it. You had 14 days to see if anything was wrong. The dozer don't pack as good as a tractor would, where the tracks has got the weight spread out. This evening, we got done, pushed everything up. I took the 9600 and done a lot of packing. And Tiffany, she wanted to play on the dozer, so she got on it and was back and forth with packing too. But a tractor, any kind of wheel machine, does a better packing job than the dozer does. Dad's got this big wheel loader, and that's the trick to pack with. It's big enough that it'll push a wagon load at one time, and heavy enough it does a lot of packing. But something's not right. It wants to get hot, and we've had a couple people look at it, and they can't figure it out, and we can't figure it out. And after you run it hard, about 15 minutes it'll steam. So we don't use it no more than we have to. I just mainly got the dozer down there just to push in. And if I had enough help, I'd have a tractor packing and the dozer just pushing mainly. We wrapped bales one time, Paul. Our balers won't roll green. We've got the Vermeer 504 Super Eyes, and they're not silage. And we had a neighbor several years ago had a John Deere, and we cut some wheat and we wrapped it. And the cattle, they really went after it. They done a good job, and we didn't single wrap it like you do. It was just a big long wrap. Yeah, that loader we got's a Fiat Alice F something 12, I think. I have seen a blade on a couple 9600s on the internet. I was actually commenting with Dylan here a couple months ago when they were putting their blade back on their dozer that I have thought about getting a snow blade off of like a 2-ton truck, big snow plow, and trying to build something like that. But the best thing to use is definitely the loader if it would go. We used it for several years, and then something happened, and we can't figure it out what it is. Yeah, you use a Gale, don't you, Paul, to roll yours with? I know, like that F you got. We've got a 504 F, and if you spit on the windrow, you're done. You ain't doing no more. What's Purple Wave? Don't know that I've ever heard of that. And Paul, if your OF is like ours, that's what I learn on online website. I don't know if I've ever seen that. But if your OF is like our OF, that's what I learn on. If you can roll with it, you can roll with about anything. That is the most aggravatingest thing. There's daylight and dark difference between that F and these Super Eyes we got. But I have thought about trying to make some kind of a blade. Yeah, I've seen them kind of buckets. I think most of them kind of buckets is like for chopped wheat and stuff. Packing wheat and rye and stuff like that. It don't work very good. It don't flow and fluff out like silage does, corn silage. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time for a lot of projects. It's just like this shop. I've wanted to do a whole lot more to it than what I have, but I work on a little as I have time. Yeah, that's been about the best we've ever done. Is close to that 300 range in a day. I know by the time you get done, your knee is wore out from clutching. Yeah, the Super G's are little newer than the 504F. Ours is 504F, and it's not a Super F, and it's just it can sure test your patience. Since me and Tiffany bought our Super I, we ain't used that F in years, and we was just going to keep it because if you try to trade it in, they wouldn't give you nothing for it. So we keep it as a backup in case we ever do. Paul, I think everybody's farm is a work in progress. Yeah. Yeah, when you roll that much hay and you having to clutch and stuff, that is one thing I like about these Alice's. Um, I've rode quite a bit of hay with these Alice's, and they've got that hand clutch over here on the side, and you can pull up when your bell gets full, put that hand clutch into neutral, and your tractor stops, your PTO keeps running. You do your tying, just push your clutch in, then that kills your PTO because it's not live power, and dump your bell, and then ease back out on your clutch, and then you can pull your hand clutch back in and go on, and that's not as hard. Which there again, when I say that, Dad's roller has got a bell wrap on the back, so you don't have to back up with his. So you can just open the door and it'll flow out. Yeah, that's for sure. Me and Tiffany's talking about that the other day. Dad's always told me, the older you get, the faster it goes. And I told her, I said, it don't seem like yesterday I was worried about getting the corn in the ground. Now I'm worried about getting it up. You know, I'm good friends with the Vermeer dealer down here, and I've looked at a lot of different balers over the years, being in and out of there and being back in the shop and stuff, and different brands. I had a New Holland 644 at one time. It was a good roller, don't get me wrong, but it had too many moving parts. these old 504 Super I's, they're simple. You can't get much more simple than them. You got just a couple chains and a couple cogs, and that's really it. We used to roll a whole lot more hay than we do now. The one farm I was talking about, there's about 250 acres or something that was in grass that we used to cut twice a year on halves. And that's pretty much where we spent our summers, was cutting hay there. And we used the 504F, and then Dad, he bought that Super I. And I just don't think you can get much better than the Super I. They really don't give no trouble. I mean, they won't roll the green stuff. And even I've been told, people that's got the silage kits, that they don't roll green like some other brands will. But as far as a good, reliable, cheap baler, I don't think you can go wrong with a 504 Super I. I really don't. I think, well, the Vermeer dealer said that that's been the top baler throughout Vermeer's history, was the Super I series. Yeah, our I is or not our I, but RF is a hydraulic tie too, Paul. Our Super I's has got the little electric tie box. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate you watching. One has to go. Sports cars or muscle cars? Sports cars. I'm not much on cars, but if I had to choose, it would definitely be that. Yeah, I'm not much on cars, but I always kind of wanted a Trans Am, T-top Trans Am. Run around and be the bandit for a while. In my opinion, I hope they don't make no more electric cars. No electric nothing. I think that's just a waste. We do have a couple Massey things. We've got two old Ferguson, just straight Ferguson TO20s. One of them was it'd be my my great grandpa's on my dad's side that they bought new. It's around the 50s model. But the other one we bought here off a guy here local. Didn't give much for it. I guess really the only things we've got Massey is we've got two Massey Ferguson 300 combines. Black, of course, on the Trans Am. Thunderbird. I always kind of thought I'd want an SS too. Wouldn't mind having an SS.
When we retire.
Tiffany says when we retire. When are we retiring?
When you win the lottery.
I figure I'd retire when I'm 6 foot under.
You can buy your Trans Am and I'll buy your Papa's truck.
Tequila. What is my favorite tractor? My favorite brand is Ford, and I guess as far as running, I guess the 9600 is probably my pick on running. I like running it about better than anything. There is a lot of Massey Fergusons here in this county because there used to be a couple Ferguson dealerships here close. But Ford is a big name here and always has been. There's a lot of Ford tractors around here. There you go, pal. I had to retire yesterday. We had a blowout and had to put a tire on one of our dump wagons. Thank you, James. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't much care for the electric stuff. I don't see that going. They're talking about making all these electric trucks and stuff, and I just don't think the torque and the power is going to be there to do what we need to do. I just don't see that. I don't mind John Deere. I aggravate Dylan all the time about his John Deere equipment. We've got the John Deere chopper, and we've got a few John Deere combines. It's always done is pretty good. I've thought about a John Deere tractor too. I guess if I was going to get a John Deere, it would be like a 4430 or a 4440, something in that range. There's a few people around here that's got the John Deeres. It's just mainly Ford is what we've always had, what I grew up on. Know how to run them, and I really don't want to get into a lot of the newer stuff. Not saying we won't never have a New Holland something, but I'm kind of fond of the older Fords. They're just good, reliable, cheap operating tractors. Can't say I've ever seen a press drill around here, a 63. Thank you there for subbing in. Thumbs up. Appreciate that. Yeah, I have thought about the 4430s and the 4440s. Something in that horsepower range. I have thought about it. And when it comes to the newer tractor, I'm definitely not going to get one that takes all this DEF mess. I'm not going to do all that. That's just dumb in my opinions. Well, I'm not sure on the kilometers per hour. You have to put that in miles per hour. But yeah, I've seen some tractors on YouTube that they've souped them up, and they've really got some power and some speed to them. Hello, John Thomas. How are you? Hello, Uncle Herschel. Do I like Case? I have a David Brown 990 that is basically like a Case. Not really been around the Case a lot. Before we bought the Tiffany 7610, we did think about a Case IH. She liked the way the cab was set up in there. So we did look at a Case once. Not really been around a Case much. My Uncle Herschel here, he's got a Case. I think his is a 530. I think it's a 530 or 430. One of the two. He'll tell us here in a minute. You know, I don't see how people live in California. Everything you pick up, you know, has got the California warning label on it. You know, I guess everything will kill you in California. Put a Hemi in a Farmall. Yeah, I was thinking it was a 530. And it got the 188 in it too, Herschel. I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, that's fast on a tractor. There's been a few times I've took our old tractors. About 20 is about the fastest they'll go. And I have got brave a time or two and pushed the clutch in, and I didn't stay brave long. Yes, I have logged before. Been trying to do some logging and clearing up on the farm down there. Was doing quite a bit until the big dozer we got, the motor went down. It spun a number 6 rod bearing. Me and Tiffany, we got the motor out, but that's as far as we ever got. I ain't never had a chance to get back on it to get it tore apart. Yeah, Herschel, that 450 dozer's got a 188, and that 310's got a 188. They're a good old engine. That 580, Paul, is that one you got here a couple months ago? Yeah, I think the Minneapolis Molines back in their time, especially ones with cabs, people would drive them back and forth to town a lot. That old David Brown I've got, it's got a three stick transmission, but it's slow. It don't go very fast. I have not seen Ed. I've not seen Ed on mine, and I didn't see Ed on Russ's live either. Hello, Logan. How are you? A hydro loader tractor. Yeah, I've seen a few of them. I didn't even know that they made such a thing until back of this. Little Johnny. I would like to have a 450C John Deere dozer. We have an Alice Chandler 200 also. They're a pretty good tractor. Yes, I actually commented on Tim's video. It starts the same way. It just slow, draggy, on starting. Uh, I always give it just a little snort of ether right before I go to start it, and it pretty much a far off then. But if you just do like what Tim done, it just cranks and cranks and cranks and cranks. And ours don't have a heater, but he is right. You can row start or pull start, and it'll fall right off. Yeah, Nelson, I'm gonna try to get you a tour here for too long. I've done had a couple people talking about it. No, I don't call AAA. I usually call a friend and we'll drag it in somehow. 2440. A friend of mine used to have a 2440. Yeah, Nelson, I'm going to try to get one here pretty soon because I just got the 86 running and got it out and messed around with the other day. The 19600, the transmission, we've had to do some work to it and the clutch and stuff, and I got it back together the other day. So there's two tractors. It's whole now, to where I can get you some video of that. The only one I'm not going to be able to get a video right now, and I guess I could, but the 190 Alice is at the neighbor's getting the motor worked on. It spun a rod bearing, and he wasn't real busy, so he said he'd work on it. Big Bud is the biggest, I reckon, on tractors. Told many a tractor with another tractor. Yep, sure have. Little yaller. Yeah, to do an actual full equipment tour, that may be either a really long video or a 2 or 3 parter to kind of show each thing and talk a little bit about it. Not been around John Deere balers much. Don't know a whole lot about them. Yeah, Big Bud, I think, is still king, and it was made what, back in the 70s? They've got some prototypes now of driverless tractors. I've seen them on the internet and read them in, it was Farm Journal or something like that. Yeah, one of these days, whenever I get this video, we've got a Minneapolis Moline backhoe. I was going to show Farm 26 there, that old backhoe. It's a Mopire. I'm not sure the exact number on it. I know it's somewhere in the late 50s, early 60s model. No, I have not heard of that planter. Yeah, Paul, we've got some places around here that you don't get much service. I have a hard time. I've run into this since I've got this drone of just where I can fly it. There's a few places that I can't fly it because I don't have enough service. No, I have not seen the ad for the bale stacker, but the Vermeer dealer down here, I'm good friends with one of the guys down there, and he was talking about it, but I have not seen that. I'd like to see the Big Bud in person. Maybe one of these days. Yeah, Paul, that's one reason why Dad got rid of that 806 International we had is, and I don't know if yours is that way or not, but it had the TA in it, and I reckon the ones that didn't have TA, they would hold back, but it had a TA in it, and if the motor wasn't running, you had no steering, you had no brakes, and it wouldn't hold back. It just freewheel, and he's afraid I'd get hurt on it, and he traded it off to that 17610 we've got. Yeah, I'll try to get you video of that backhoe. It's not ran in a few years. I've got the hood off of it now. I tried starting it back of this, and I wasn't getting no far. And I took the hood off to get to the points and stuff, and that's as far as I got. Never did get back to it. But I'll get you a video of it sometime. And I'll look that up, Paul, and see what it looks like. Thank you, Nelson. Check back in with me sometime. We'll get into conversations. Appreciate you watching. We've got quite a few New Holland things. We've got New Holland square baler. It's an old New Holland. It's a 68 Hayliner. And we've got several New Holland silage choppers. And a few odd and end New Holland stuff. As far as tractors, we don't have nothing that's New Holland. The older New Hollands, I think, is okay right there. We're Ford and New Holland switched. Can't say I've been around the New Holland, the newer New Holland stuff to really know what it's like. Gleaner combine, something I've not been around much. A neighbor actually come up yesterday wanting to look at my John Deere. He's got a Gleaner, and he's wanting to try to convert and put a John Deere head on his. Yeah, I seen that. I commented on there about you showing me that. Yeah, I appreciate that. On that old sheller. Now, there's quite a bit of difference between a tractor and a bulldozer, and especially a crane. Bulldozers has tracks and a blade, and cranes, some have wheels and some have tracks, and then there's some stationary cranes that's got big booms on them for reaching up high in big loads. Yeah, I do that a lot, Paul. We've got a gas station down here close, and I've done that a bunch. I've had a combine at gas stations before getting fuel. Between me and my wife and my mom and dad, we're close to 800 acres combined between what we own and what we lease. I'm not sure if it was the 747 Big Bud, but Big Tractor Power done a video on one of them here the other day. Hello, Ashley. How are you? We're doing all right, I reckon. Dad, he did test for COVID again yesterday. This makes his second round of COVID. His first round, he had about 3.5. Well, he got it right after I did, about 3.5 months ago, and he wound up getting it again. He said it don't seem like it's hardly as hard on him this time as it was before, but what about IH? What little I know about internationals, they're tough and they're stout and they're pretty heavy, so they've got a lot of weight to do a lot of pulling and tugging. The only international that we ever had, as far as big tractor, we've got some Farmalls. We got a Cub Farmall and a 100 and a 130. We had an 806 international, and it gave Dad a little bit of motor problems. And like I was just talking about, it running off, and that's the reason why he got rid of it. Yeah, we've got a couple bulldozers. Never run a crane before. I run a bulldozer quite a bit. It's in some of my videos. I've got one up. Let's see. Yesterday, I was on it, and a couple of days ago, I was on it doing some grade work. Our little 450. See you, Paul. Thanks for joining us. We're kind of average as far as acres around here now. I guess we are considered one of the bigger farmers in the county. There's several grain guys around here that they tend a couple thousand acres. One of them, he tends about 4,000, I think, over a couple of counties. $10,000 acres. I couldn't imagine. You have to have good equipment and good help to run that kind of acres. That's a lot of our problem here is help. We can't get nobody to do nothing. It's hard for us to get a tractor driver, leather, especially trying to get somebody to do any kind of physical something, fencing or something like that. Just can't get done here. I've been to several tractor pulls. I've never participated in one. No. Been to 65 acres of hay. Something ain't been around much either is sheep. We had some goats and had a hard time keeping them in, and when they started running across my wife's pickup truck, she started selling them. I think as frustrated as she was, as she caught them on her truck again, she'd have done away with them. Yeah, there's several tractor pulling videos out there for sure. Farm 26, where are you located at? I know you're up north, I'm pretty sure, but I don't really remember exactly where you're at. Between us and mom and dad, we've got about 200 mama cows. If I can ever get our place cleaned up, I want to clean up about 30 to 35 acres or something of timber and make more pasture ground. Um, I'm going to get us some more. The stamped steel wheels. I thought about it. I really think that tractor's actually got duals on it. Them's actually dual wheels. It's got the original cast iron wheel there in behind, and then it's got the bracket for the duals, and that's what's on it. I actually feel that 9600 is actually stouter than our other one. And when I say that, when you hook them to a pull top chopper, it just seems like that tractor will pull it better than the other one. I don't know if somebody's turned it up or not, but straight east. Do you know where any 8,000s, 9,000s, 86s, or 96 tractors are for parts up in your area? I was raised up being a Chevrolet man, but we own a few Fords now. I've got a Ford F-350. My wife, she's got a Ford F-150. And then we bought that Ford dump truck here back of this. My truck has a 7.3 in it. It's a 2000. As far as motor wise, I've never had any trouble out of the motor, but I have had some transmission issues out of it. But yeah, they're okay. Yeah, I was raised up with Chevys, and then Dad bought a Dodge Cummins. It's a good old truck. Die-hard Ford person. Yeah, the first truck I had that I ever owned personally was an 83 1-ton 2-wheel drive diesel, had the 6.9 in it, and that thing nickel and dined me to death. That was my first vehicle in high school, and it nickel and dined me to death, and that 6.9 was weaker than water, and I wound up junking that truck. It got to giving me fits, and I just took it to the junkyard. Yeah, there's a little tractor junkyard north of us here, and they've got a lot of blue, but they've got a lot of 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s. About the biggest thing they've got's up to 7. Ain't got no 8s and 9s. Dad caught over the back of this and asked, and they said that they wish that they had a bunch of them. What we're needing now, and you'll know what I'm talking about, where your fan bolts on to the head, that bracket that you adjust your fan with. We've had a couple of them break, and we've used what spares we had. Back in the spring, I was chopping wheat, and it broke on that 9600, and I had to rob it off the 8600, which at that time it was still stuck. But we've since got it back up and running, so now we need that bracket. I took that bracket to a machine shop, and he talked like he's going to try to make us some out of steel, and we'll see what happens. Not been around Husqvarna much. I've got a steel chainsaw and had several steel products. We've got a couple steel weed eaters, and I've got the one steel saw now. I had a bigger steel saw, and it got stole a few years ago. A friend of mine went from steel to Husky. He really likes the Husqvarnas a lot better than the steel. But now, in my opinion, I bought a couple years ago, I bought a 590 Echo Timberwolf, and it's got a 24-inch bar on it. And I've been extremely satisfied with it. It was about $150 or so cheaper than the steel, and it fires up every time. It's never give me any problems. I've never had any problems out of it at all. Done a lot of logging and stuff with it, and I do run steel chains on it. The steel chains are a lot better than like Oregon or what come on that saw. The steel chains last a lot longer. They ain't too many. There's a lot of the smaller blues around here, like I said, but they ain't too many of these 8000s and 9600s around here. We pretty much got the market cornered on them. And when you see one around here, it's kind of, you ooh and ah over it and wonder whose it is, because you just don't see many of them. Never rented a tractor, so I can't say. A lot of people around here, they rent combines and tractors and stuff, but they're all new stuff, so I'm sure they've got a pretty penny on them. But I've never rented one, so I can't say. This Dodge that Dad's got, he got it in 2000. It was my uncle's. He bought it new, and he was using it as a vet truck, and he upgraded to a Ford in 2000. And we've had it ever since, and it's done us real good. We ain't had a whole lot of trouble out of it either, and it's got 250-some thousand miles, I think, on it. I need a fan too. That's another thing. Dad stopped over at New Holland the other day, and they couldn't get a fan for that tractor, because that's what happened back in the spring. Is the fan blade broke, and when the fan blade broke, it got everything out of balance and broke that piece. So yeah, if you see anything like that up in your area or something, let me know. Definitely be interested in some parts. And Dad also called the other day, All State Ag Parts, and they didn't have nothing that we was looking for either. And they're a pretty good sized junkyard. Yeah, I've not been around Husqvarna much. Like I said, a friend of mine, he's a big. A lot of the bigger loggers around here use Husqvarnas. Um, but now for the money, I like my Echo awful good. It's never failed me. I can go to it right now, and it ain't been started never, and it'll fall right up. Yeah, I ain't never known anybody that ran any kind of old equipment. The biggest problem I had with the steel stuff is they're hard to start. They're cold natured. I have not called Drain. Been there quite a bit for combine parts. Um, you know, now that you mentioned that, I remember seeing something in the fast line about them having a tractor. I'll try to call them Monday. I sure will. Thank you for that. Yep. Yeah, I remember them talking about them having a 9600. It might have been a year ago that I seen that, but yeah. You live next to Drains? Said you live next to Drone. I'm not much of a Poland man. Kevin Crane. Kevin Drain, you mean? Yeah, I've been to Drains quite a bit. I've not been in a couple of years, but yeah, last time I was up there has probably been oh 7 or 8 years ago, I guess. It's been a while since I've been up there. I had a lot of equipment then. The one we've got a 7720 turbo combine that actually come from them back now 15 years ago, I guess. Crystal, did they split up? Because I've noticed on fast lines and stuff, you got the Kevin Drains and then you got Drains. Are they still the same, or did they split up, or what's happened there? Can't say I've ever heard of that. Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of that brand. That's kind of what I figured happened, because I kind of figured that. Because I've seen in the fast lines, you got Kevin Drain, and then you got the original Drains, and the Kevin is at a different location. Yeah, I kind of figured they had split. Does Kevin got much junk stuff? Like was at the old yard? Yeah, I've been to the drains equipment. They're about 3 hours from us. It's a pretty good trip to go up there. Has talked about our farm. What's he know about us? Who's your dad? I can't say I know that name. Might know him for seen, but I don't know that name. Well, we have been at this 2 hours and 30 minutes. We got 6 of you left in here. So I think that I'll call this one good. I appreciate y'all getting in here. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that name. But anyway, thank y'all for joining in. We'll try to do this again sometime. Another good turnout, I think. Had good conversations. So that's going to do it for this one. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.